Hey guys, Tim here with Brenner Software, and today we're going to cover our file export options primarily for 2D and 3D files such as like DXF and step files. So let's go ahead and hop in and start with step files first. So here we got a top level assembly with 3-part files, technically 4 if you want to go ahead and include the anchor bolts, but we're going to disregard those for today. So if we wanted to go do a step file, let's say I wanted to go ahead and set something to my tube laser, traditionally I'd go ahead and open up here and do a step file export. But with our add-in, what we can do is come up over here to our export step button, click on that, and let's say this guy with the holes, good candidate for a tube laser. I'll go ahead and click on him, and I'm presented here with a file name and directory already populated for me. And we're going to go ahead and talk about exactly how this is populated. But first, we'll just go ahead and save it off, and you can see it automatically generated for us. If I wanted to see where it's located, I can click this open folder button. It'll automatically show me the folder where it's at and select the file. Or if I just want to go ahead and open the file directly with whatever my default step file viewer is, it'll go ahead and pull up. For me, it's eDrawings, and then boom, there we go. But let's go ahead and talk about that file name for a second. When we go ahead and open up the folder, you can see we have a part number, then we have a revision, and then we have a material. So when we move over to our settings, our file names can be determined for every single file extension that we're working with. So here with our step file, you can see that our part number is wrapped up in these double set of curly brackets. We've got a rev with a prefix here, and then we also have our material here. So what's going on is we've got two things. We have custom properties and we have special variables that are getting pulled from our part. So anything that's wrapped in these double set of curly brackets will either be a custom property, in this case these are all custom properties from our CAD model, or it could be a special variable, something that might not be a custom property, but something that may be global to the whole entire part, or something like a date or a timestamp, or things like thicknesses, which are not always necessarily defined in your custom properties. So anything that's wrapped in these double set of curly brackets will be a dynamic variable that will be assigned at the time the file is exported. And it makes it really easy to just have this rule, and then everybody will have the consistent file naming convention. But you'll notice before this we have a slash, and we have a step folder that was created here. So when we go ahead and open up that folder again, if you see if I go back out one, here's where all my parts were. I think I was in this bridge model to begin with, and we created a step subfolder and we put our part file in there. So when we go pull back up our settings here, you can see that. However, for me, I like to go ahead and typically make subfolders for all my different file extensions, DXF and PDFs. But sometimes, let's say for a DXF file, let's say our company has a local drive where we want to go ahead and put all of the DXF files for our CNC programmer to use or something of that nature. We can also use a rooted drive where we can actually put like the C drive or wherever it is. So in this particular instance, we have a shop drawing folder, and we have like a laser table for our 12K laser, and then we have our file naming scheme in after that. So two different ways to define how your file name is created. One is using a rooted directory, which is up here, and one's using a relative directory, which is what we're using with the step files. So these can be customized to however your shop operates and however they'd like to go ahead and see these file names pumped out. So we'll go ahead and go through this one more time. We can hit our step button and click on this guy, and you'll notice now we're getting a file already exists warning. And that's because we already saved off this file, and it's letting us know that, hey, you're going to override this file if you save it, which maybe you made a change to the bolt pattern, you want to do that, or maybe you need to increment the revision, and what you can do is go ahead and change that, and now this will dynamically update, and we can go ahead and save that off as such. But maybe I don't want to go ahead and save off a particular body. Maybe I want to save off this whole entire part file and go ahead and send it to a customer or a vendor or something like that. So what we can do for that is we can hit our step file, and instead of clicking a particular body, we can go up into our feature tree right here and click on our top level feature, and I'll go ahead and do the same thing, but now instead of exporting a single body, it'll export this whole entire file. You can see that down here in the bottom right corner, we have a success that it was exported with a date and timestamp, so you know exactly that it wasn't like a previous model or something of that nature. But we'll hit the open document button, and I'll go ahead and see our eDrawings model of the whole entire moldment frame. So that's great, but let's say I have a whole bunch of step files to do and I don't want to go ahead and poke around and open up each model. The same operations can be occurring from the top level as well. So to do that, what we can do is hit our step file button. I'm going to come over to this guy, and it's going to automatically open it temporarily while I go ahead and put the file name in. You can see if I go to 1, it's also going to be used, but maybe if I say I want to use Rev2 now, we can go ahead and save that off. And now we're back in the top level assembly, close our subassembly, and we're all good to go. If I wanted to go ahead and export just this welded frame, but not the two kind of tower supports, we can do that as well. So in order to do that, we'll click that step file button, and what I can actually do is go ahead and say, hey, here's my bridge and my component, this component in my feature tree. Click on that, and it'll go ahead and export it. You see we're getting a warning because we've already exported that file name off before. I'll go ahead and hit save with a Rev1, and we're good to go. I'll go ahead and just click our open folder button, and you can see here we've got all the files that we've messed with so far. So the last thing we can do is, let's say I want to go ahead and export this whole entire top level assembly, fasteners and all. So same thing that we did with the part file. Well, I'll click on this and I'll just hit this top level component, and boom, we are good to go. And we should see a message that it went ahead and saved right there. So next thing we can do is our DXF files, or like DWGs, or kind of 2D files. So we're going to go ahead and open up this guy again, and kind of goes through the same workflow. I can click on my DXF button and say like, hey, this end cap needs to get lasered. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in my 12K laser folder. Got my thickness, got my material, got my rev, and my part number. And save. And we're good to go. One thing I like to do when I'm saving off DXFs is actually pre-select the surface and then go ahead and click on the button. Just saves me an extra mouse click or two. With DXF files, we can't click on this because this would get really kind of quite convoluted with what's going on. But we can go back into our top level assembly and say like, hey, this guy right here, want to export as a DXF, and it looks like we already have this file exported before. I'm going to override it, and there we go, we're good to go. So the last thing to cover is sheet metal parts. Everything we've been working with right here is just like a simple boss extrude, nothing too fancy. But when we start getting the sheet metal parts, there's a lot more parameters that we can go ahead and have included in there. So this guy right here is just a simple sheet metal part with a flange and 2 holes on it. And before we go ahead and export that out, I want to go ahead and pull up our settings again and show you some options that we have when it comes to exporting DXFs. So when you manually do a DXF, there's a whole bunch of different options that you include: bend lines, sketches, hidden lines, all sorts of other things. All those same options are here and visible in our settings. For this particular instance, we're just going to show bend lines, and then I also am going to use this auto align feature. And what this auto align feature is going to do is, if I have a part at a weird angle, it's going to find the longest edge and make that the horizontal edge when we export it out. Just makes it a little bit easier and cleaner for your DXF operators or CNC operators when they're programming it and nesting these parts. So with that in mind, what I can do is come over here, pre-select this guy, hit the export DXF button, and you can see it's already kind of got the part ready to go. And now it's going to go ahead and export it out, and then we can hit this open document button, and this will go ahead and pull it up in eDrawings, and we can see we've got our part here with our bend line, and these are the colors that I have set up in my DXF mapping scheme. So that is a high level overview of our file exports for 2D and 3D files.